how would you like to make your first million? And today we have a special guest, Beau Turner, which is the founder of Abundant Minds. It's a Bitcoin mining company built in one purpose: to make passive crypto infrastructure investing simple, secure, and sustainable. It's a former real estate investor, turned tech into tech entrepreneur. Beau launched Abundant Minds after experiencing firsthand how unreliable, opaque, and frustrated the mining space could be. And I agree with you 100%. So, Beau, tell us, what are the 5 steps that you recommend to entrepreneurs out there in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me on, Harry. It's a pleasure to be here. And I think the entrepreneur's journey is one of the most important and satisfying things that people can embark on. And hopefully, if you study well and put yourself into it, it'll be successful for you. You get a great outcome. But many people don't make it through the journey unscathed. I'd say almost everybody makes it through with a few battle scars. So going in with a plan and a process can really help you. So the 5 steps that I've come up with that I think will help someone be successful in making their first million are: first, you have to know your market and the opportunity space better than the people around you. You're going to get so many questions, you're going to get so much rejection and so many obstacles put in your way that if you aren't confident in what you're learning about and what you're building a business around, that you will get knocked off your path. The second step is that once you've learned your opportunity space, you have to find a gap in the market. You have to find an underserved area where people are not meeting the needs of customers and there is a hunger for a solution that is not being delivered on. Once you find that hunger, step 3 is that you have to solve it. You have to satiate it creatively. So you have to have a better solution than the person next to you, than the 10 people next to you who are going to come and try and take your market share. So it pays you once you've identified the problem and you've identified what people want to solve it in a way that is more satisfying than the people behind you. After you've done that, the 4th step is you have to communicate what you've done to solve that problem. And you have to communicate it simply. If you have a beautiful design, a beautiful solution to an engineering problem, and nobody understands what it is, the market will not latch onto it, and you will face an uphill battle trying to get it to be successful. And the 5th step, after you have learned how to communicate your solution simply, is to deliver that message constantly and in the places where people are hungry and ready to hear it. So it doesn't matter if you have an amazing solution that you are not giving to the right market. If you are presenting a beautiful solution to a problem that someone doesn't have, then you are wasting your time and you are wasting their time. You need to find the place where people are hungry for your solution and deliver that message constantly. And if you can do that reliably, you will get to $1 million in sales and get over the hump that most entrepreneurs cannot. Oh, you're muted, Harry.
Property and tech, the most powerful vehicles that exist today in the planet in order to become a multimillionaire, to create wealth. The reason that I'm confident sharing this statement with you is this same podcast, because 1 out of 5 entrepreneurs that we interview, we already interviewed 500 millionaires. They're either property entrepreneurs or tech entrepreneurs, and you, my friend, you have both. So so you are in the right path. So can you share with us, to the listeners, that they are wannabe entrepreneurs, already entrepreneurs trying to get to the first million and to grow the business, right? um why do you think that tech and property are good vehicles to become wealthy, and what is the good, the bad, or the ugly? So our audience have a perspective, right? Because it doesn't matter what I say here. Then I say, well, property, you have to be careful. Even with the tech, is a lot of risks. We only hear the success story, but it have a huge failing rate. It doesn't matter what I say here in this broadcast. At the end of the day, people are listening, and 1 out of 5 is property, another 1 out of 5 is tech, and the people listen and say, "Well, tech and property is an amazing vehicle to become wealthy," and it's true. But can you open a little bit more the awareness, the good, the bad, and the ugly from tech and property? You've been in both
Yeah,
markets, so.
absolutely. I mean, that's such a big question, right? So we won't be able to unpack all of it. But I'll say from spending a decade in the real estate space and now being full-time in the technology space and really on the forefront of data centers and energy and kind of all of these mega trends that we're all getting a chance to live through, is that you have to find an opportunity that suits your skills and your tendencies, right? You can make money in anything, whether it's property or technology or baking or lawn care, whatever it may be. It has a lot to do with your predisposition. So when I first got into real estate and I was looking at building my net worth through property, that was just because I looked and I saw where is the majority of the world's assets? I mean, where is the majority of the world's value held? And it's held in property. Almost a third of all of the world's wealth, if you're including debt, is in real estate. And so that's a pretty large market to get into, likely to mean that there's a lot of opportunity. It's also not a highly innovative industry. And so there's not a lot of disruption that makes it where someone coming in is at a severe disadvantage because someone comes out with new technology and invalidates a business model. The property space has notoriously been relatively stable and a good place to make money for not decades, but centuries. So great place to start, especially if you don't have an edge in something else. I would say property is very reliable. But to what I mentioned earlier, if you don't have a passion for something, it's very hard to outcompete the person next to you. And after 10 years, I realized that I was not as passionate about forming real estate deals as the person next to me. And so that meant that even though I was successful on paper and making money and everything was going well, that at a certain point, I would be outcompeted by the person who loved waking up and going and closing on single family deals or building commercial buildings or anything of the like. And what really piqued my interest about technology at that time, this was around 2020, was I had been at least a casual observer and always interested in technology and always staying up to date with it, but never felt that I had an edge. So back to what we discussed about knowing your market better than anybody, I didn't feel like I knew technology as a broad space better than anyone around me. But what I realized was getting into the Bitcoin mining space that I had a very, very rough experience investing with a provider and found a need that was underserved. And it wasn't just
Mm.
underserved to me, it was underserved to the entire market. And I realized, oh, suddenly I'm in the 1% of people who have experience in this space and who know enough to realize that there's an underserved need here. And so, even though I love tech, all growing up, I was always very interested in new technologies and anything that was innovative. I didn't feel like there was something unique that I could bring to the space until the right experience showed me, hey, there is pain in the market here, and this is something that you can innovate on. You have the right experience, you have the knowledge, you have more background in this than almost anybody in the world. Go out and seize the opportunity. So, to anybody listening, I would say it's very clear to you when something comes into your life and knocks you on the head and says, hey, this is your thing, this is a painful experience that not just you but other people are having, that if you go out and solve effectively, you can make money. And it can be a property, it can be in technology, it can really be in anything.
Yeah, sometimes the worst day of your life become the best day of your life. Yes, and I agree with you that there is such a pain in this mining space, especially in the Bitcoin. I have experienced this. I mean, I think that 90% of people is a large amount of people that has invested in mining Bitcoin, and all of a sudden, all disappear. It's all gone. Yeah, and and you left with the with terrible experience, right? Luckily, I'm being conscious, and I think that it was about $1,000 or $2,000 that I invested in this mining company, and oh, it was a disaster. Everybody lost everything, right? And this the whole and more company. It became like a like an standard issue that you create a company, it's a mining, Bitcoin, this and that. I'm talking about a long time ago, 4 or 5 years, maybe something like that. This company was around, and then the mining concept, I love it. Yeah, and it's fantastic. I understand a little bit of tech. I used to work as a software developer, and the concept is amazing. And I'm a big fan of the concept. However, it seems that everybody that open a company there to do this, they have a second plan. We probably is more lucrative. What if I take all the money and I disappear? Okay. And unfortunately, it has created a lot of it have created this market more difficult to entry. People after they have a bad experience, they say, I don't want to touch it. However, a lot of entrepreneurs that have been attending to this podcast, they, when you ask them how you start your successful business, some of them, even me, I started the business solving a problem for yourself, and then you start to solve it for another one. My first business was a property business. We managed to sell over 5 million. I'm in your same boat. I was passionate about it. Not really, right? Do I want to make money? Oh yes. And then I was in London, and when my bill came, I'm thinking I'm paying rent £600. It's a lot of money. And I used to work in a pub there in London. That's what you do when you land there and you don't speak English very good. And then they pay me the money they pay me in the pub, and after my major expense was the rent. So I started the property, call it rent to rent. So I rent the house, and I was renting the room separate. All of a sudden, I'm not paying my rent, become a profit. Now, next bill, I'm getting paid from the pub. I'm like kind of rich. I'm like, wow, how come I have £600 more? This is amazing. What if I can? I already sold it for myself, and it's amazing. What if I can do it for others? And this is how my first business was built. Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, if what you do it with the money, even if you sell millions, if you're not passionate about, somehow you're gonna lose the point. Especially, I started to do these events they call property entrepreneur summit. So then I invited all the property speakers, right? One expert in Airbnb, another expert in HMO, another expert in development, a mortgage broker. So, and we were doing this gig in London. I was organizing this, and I would teach a little bit of rent to rent, was what I knew, and the events were amazing. However, one of the speakers came one to me and told me, Harry, I'm passionate about property. And I said, really, you passionate about property? And he told me, Harry, if a tenant call you at 1 a.m. on Sunday because the heater is broke and need the plumber right now, and you get annoyed about the call, you shouldn't be in the property business. And it's actually click that, wow, maybe I'm not that passionate about this property thing because this guy, were property multimillionaires, and he was telling me proudly that somebody called him on Sunday at 1 a.m. in one of his property, and he has gazillion loads of property, to say that the heater is not working, that he need to fix. He will take the call gladly, and he will try to solve it, and it won't ruin his day. And this is what it is, and this the business. So my question is the following: how you find your path? Because I've been there. It took a long time. You are in the point that you're making money, and then you don't know really what you want. So how it landed? What you really like? It was probably this bad experience that you say, you know what? Nobody's helping anybody. Everybody's taking advantage of everybody. I'm gonna try to do something decent, because unless I start for that, or how all this start.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And it's not totally linear, right? It's not like one day you wake up and
Never,
say,
exactly.
I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna be the best at it, and then you just go off on your way, right? It's a series of experiences in most cases that lead to you finding a purpose and a passion like this. In my case, I would say it started with interest in Bitcoin. So I had interest and I owned Bitcoin for years before I ever got into mining.
Wow.
And the more that I studied it, the more interesting it became. But at the time that I first got it, there was not really such thing as someone who is professional in the Bitcoin space. It was just this thing that existed on the internet. And so real estate was a much more reliable way for me to actually build wealth. I am definitely financially motivated. I want to be financially successful. So that's always been part of the core motivation is what can I do that I will be successful in and create wealth? And I didn't see a way that at least focusing full time that I could go and create that in the Bitcoin space. You know, in hindsight, I wish I had spent much more time and gotten as much resources as I could together to go out and just buy as much as possible and
Mhm.
hold on to it. But hindsight is 2020, of course. So as time went on, mining came back into my field of awareness because it looked to me like a way of not just getting Bitcoin, but getting Bitcoin cash flow. And it was very similar to the real estate space in that
Mhm.
if I could build
Mhm.
up a portfolio, I could
It's
build
a
up an
cash
income
flow.
stream.
Yeah. I'm a big
Yep.
fan of cash flow businesses. Big fan.
Yeah. And there's hardly any native crypto cash flow businesses that have good fundamentals, and mining is one of those. And you already mentioned it. So there's nothing on the design of the mining system that makes it a bad business. It's all about the
I'm a
partners,
big
the people
fan.
who are
I'm a
doing it.
big fan. Big fan.
It's a really wonderful model. I mean, if you think about it, you're just plugging in a computer, it's working for you with no complaints and no issues 24/7 to make the best money in the world. And if you can get good energy and have that facility well managed, that is hands-off income. That's really cool. And the only thing that ruins it is people that don't set up their businesses well, that don't care about their customers.
The people
And
running it. It's
Mhm.
terrible. It's like everybody that come with this type of projects, right? I don't know because it's a very sustainable business model. There is no need to go and take everything and disappear. But
Yeah.
then and the problem is this one, Bo. The main problem some have been related with network marketing companies, mining network marketing companies that you start to bring to the space when you do as a network marketing people that they don't understand fully how it works, right? And then it's those people that they don't have a clear understanding what it works, that they're more vulnerable to deposit large amounts. And because they don't understand tech or the business model is not sustainable, right? It's not designed effectively. When the people that created those business, those models, the whole plan is okay. Let's take as much cash as possible. Let's try to do mine as less as possible, or if we mine them, let me take it. So I'll take all the cash, I'll take all the bitcoins, and I'll disappear. And I experienced, so I'm speaking for myself and for a lot of people that I know that have bad experiences with this. So, Bo, the first of all, can you explain what mining is for our audience? Because we're talking about this term, but could be for our audience what it means and why it's a good opportunity to generate cash flow, and why it's something that you understood very clear, like I did, because coming from the real estate business, you start to become an investor, right? You are investing in real estate, and the most important for me always in real estate is cash flow, right? This is how I see the things. The property can go up in value, yeah. In the same way, Bitcoin can go up in value, can go down in value. However, if you can put something sustainable that can generate cash flow, that is interesting, because some properties never go up, never go down, or whatever, they stay in the same thing, but they produce an amazing cash flow. And if you look at it, this is all you need. You need after you pay the mortgage, after you pay everything, you have an extra money that come monthly, because we have to pay bills monthly. We have to. go to a supermarket every month. We have to pay the rent every month. We have to pay the electricity every month. So we have something. We get paid every month, right? As an employee, people, right? So then, if you can swap this income for a monthly income, you literally can not keep quitting your job, but you go to work because you want, not because you have to. And the distinction is kind of very important. So, what is the biggest problem? Because you feel it, you experience it same like me, right? And it's not fair, to be honest. No, I won't say with us, because we are people that understand risk. We have been in real estate, and when I invest in this mining company, as I have experience, I didn't put so much money. I just put a couple of grants, and I was looking up closely. But in this network marketing company, you bring a friend, whatever. Then the friend talk to another one that you don't even know what happened, and then the friend call you, "Hey, I put 20K, 10K." I was like, "Man, you crazy?" I, I didn't say to you, and if you're gonna put 20K, whatever, you call me and tell me, "Harry, I'm gonna do this." No, no, don't worry about it. So that I already spoke with your upline and whatever, and this is gonna be amazing. I'm like, man, I didn't do, I haven't even validate this myself. I'm looking at it to see what's going on, but this crazy thing happened, and you know it. So I understand that it's a huge need. So can you explain why, number one, what is mining, and how sustainable model look like for people?
Yeah. So the simplest way, because we could give a very
Oh yeah,
technical description of
technical.
mining. The simplest way I can describe mining is that you are using computing power to secure a global network and getting paid fees to do so. So, and we're talking about Bitcoin here specifically because there's all different
Mm-hmm.
coins all over the place. We're a Bitcoin only company for so many different reasons. But in the Bitcoin network, miners are essentially getting paid to secure the network and process transaction fees, and they get paid out in Bitcoin to do so. That happens by plugging in specialized computers into power, getting the cheapest power that you can because that is your main input cost, and then throwing as much computing power at the network to secure it and to get paid those incentives. So miners are paid in two ways. There's the block subsidy, which is the Bitcoin that's mined all the way to that cap of 21 million coins. So that's truly the sense of going out and prospecting for new coins that have never been issued on the market and mining those from the network. The other aspect of income that miners earn that most people don't know about is actually getting paid on transaction fees. So there's a useful process happening by mining. It's not just going out
Wow.
and using a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of energy and computing power to get an asset just for getting the asset's sake. You're running a global network. You're processing transactions. And so you get paid transaction fees
Wow,
for
this
that
is good for
process.
cash flow. Amazing.
And so the analogy I like to use for describing mining to people is imagine if the military and Visa were one organization and you had someone who was protecting your network, your financial network, as well as getting paid transaction fees to move transactions across that network. That's a close approximation of what the mining process is. And what breaks down, to your point, Harry, is there's all these different business models of how to get into mining. There's people who will just sell you hash rate, like just the computing power itself. There's people who will sell you computers. There's people who will set up special purpose vehicles where you join in as an investor, as an LP. So there's the mechanical process, the computing process, and then there's all these different business structures that people will set up around it. Some of them are better than others. I've experienced my fair share of ones that are not set up properly. And there's just all these pitfalls once you get into mining that people don't understand. They think, okay, you just plug in a computer and as long as there's power, it works. Sounds very simple, but one of the most beautiful things about Bitcoin itself, the asset, is that when you properly hold Bitcoin, there's no counterparty risk to that. So you own an asset that is like you having digital gold in your possession. Nobody can take it away from you. If you have it securely stored, there's nobody that you're relying on who can steal it from you, who can lose it for you. That's one of the great parts about the asset. Yeah, so in summary, mining is just getting paid to secure the network. And so we go out and we put all these computers into the network, we plug them into energy, And in doing so, you're expecting that you're going to make a return. Like, why do this instead of go out and just buy Bitcoin? And the answer is, if you do it well, you can make more Bitcoin over time, and get all these benefits of cash flow. You've got the tax advantages of having physical equipment. But the risk of this is that as soon as you let go of your cold storage Bitcoin that nobody can steal and nobody can lose for you, you're taking the risk of physical equipment, power procurement, getting the right partners in place, all of these different things that come with running an active business. You're taking on more risk, expecting to get a higher return. But if you don't properly manage those risks, as you found, you can either get outright scammed or find someone who doesn't know what they're doing and runs a bad business. There's all of these risks that if you don't properly manage them, you don't get a return that's higher than Bitcoin, you get no return or lower return.
Bitcoin can go to zero overnight. There are some investors, some of them really famous, that they describe that this is doesn't have any value behind, and can go to zero overnight. On the other hand, this is not what the graph is showing. Or the opposite. Now, for example, it went up again big time, and we describe value as soon as the people that have the belief that is this is how much it's worth. It's like having like an electronic gold. So number one, but what's gonna happen with the miners when there is no more Bitcoin left to mine? So how many years? I think we were looking into this. Yeah. So how many years left? Not that many, right? So how the miners are gonna get pay if there is nothing else to mine?
Yes, so
And about the value of Bitcoin, tell us your view. What message do you have for those investors? Some of them then they don't believe and they say that there is no value behind and can go to zero overnight. Whether this hasn't happened, totally the opposite. And other people they're saying that can even reach a million per Bitcoin. So tell us you what message do you have for those investors that said that can go to zero, and what's gonna happen when it's nothing else to mine, which is I think it's not gonna be not a far period of time. I'll check briefly the other day, and so what's gonna happen?
yeah, so I'll answer the mining question first, which is a lot of people think that after the last coin is mined, that there's no more income from miners, and that's not actually the case. So the last Bitcoin gets mined in the year 2140, so more than
Ah,
100 years from now.
wow.
We've already got 95% of the supply mined, so over 19 million coins are already out there, but it's a diminishing growth curve. So every 4 years, the amount of new coins that get mined gets cut in half. So we'll be at 99% of the supply by the mid 2030s. But what people don't understand is even after that last coin is mined more than 100 years from now, miners still get paid transaction fees. So when you send me Bitcoin or I send you Bitcoin, there's a transaction fee associated with moving those coins on the network, and that fee gets paid to the miners. And that's always how it was meant to be, is that miners are not just getting paid to mine new coins, they're getting paid to run a real useful network. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
first thing. Uh, on the price, the
And
people who
value.
said, yeah, the people who said that Bitcoin was a bubble at $100 and $1,000 and $10,000 and even $100,000 have so far been proven wrong over and over again. So I think just looking at the trend, it's hard to say that this has no value since it has repeatedly 10x'd over and over and over again.
Proving
And
otherwise, right?
I mean, you can say that the market is irrational, but I would say that anything that has truly been a bubble and had a pop usually doesn't come back 10x stronger the next time around. It's usually done reset. So there must be some reason that people and institutions and even governments at this point, including the US government, are putting resources into acquiring more of this stuff. So if you think that you're the smartest person in the room, you might want to check and see why are all of these other actors with more capital than me choosing to do this, and just ask a series of questions after that. But in terms of what I think is going to happen with it, I'm of the opinion that this is on its way to becoming the global reserve asset. And the path to
Wow.
that is still very far ahead of us. I mean, today, mid 2025, it's a $2 trillion asset. We mentioned earlier that real estate is about a third of global wealth. That's $300 trillion. So, all told, in the entire sea of things that people store their value in, there's about 900 trillion worth of assets. And if Bitcoin is 2 trillion of that 900, that means that we're at about 0.2% market penetration.
Wow.
So if all you believe is that it's worth 2%, then Bitcoin gets to a million a coin. If you think that it's global money at 20%, then it's 10 million a coin. So I'll let people make their own judgments about what they think that it will be. I'm of the opinion that it's on its way to be global money over the next several decades, and that 20% of global assets is not ridiculous. It's just a matter of how long it takes.
So many wealthy people owns, and even large firms, investment firms, they own. So that even if you go down, the same people we promoted to go up again, right? Because they have so many. So that could be one view that I think that in my opinion, regardless that people say, well, it's no value, can go to zero, there is nothing real behind or nothing tangible. Um, we can say the same thing of gold, right? So gold is worth how much it's worth because we all agree, and that this is how much it's worth. But if one day everybody agrees that this worth zero, even can go to zero, even if you hold it in your hand, because it's what the people holding in belief, and also scarcity, right? This is something for sure, what we discussed, they are about to finish, same like in real estate. In real estate, when you invest, sometimes you look, in London there is one area we call it Canary Wharf, right? So it's a contained area, right? Because you cannot build more. When it's finished, it's finished, because there's no literally more space. So obviously these get a lot of very attractive for capital growth and so on, because when there is no literally more space in that area, so if somebody want to live in that area in one building, they need to, it's gonna become offer and demand, and this is definitely uh, a product that is still is in development. There are honestly very sophisticated scams built about the transaction, the wallets, the changes. You hear news about this, but it's still surviving. Yeah, a friend came the other day. Harry, look, I have so many bitcoins and I lost everything. I invest in this, and the woman had like 65 years, and nothing wrong with the age, but she's no tech savvy. Even for me, that I have a tech background, it's still the issue to having a wallet to do a transaction, to store this safely, to don't lose your key, because if you lose your key, you lose all the money. It still is something that um, that you need to have a high tech knowledge to understand exactly what are you getting into and how can you protect your asset. But then we see people there with no tech experience jumping into that market, and they what I see is how long it takes to penetrate and how long will take to become a common use. And sometimes we never thought, okay, that we're gonna be having our mobile phones and walk around with the phone, right? And but some technologies, they penetrate so fast, like let's say the mobile phone, and all of a sudden you have a mobile phone after you have apps and everything, and now everybody's using it. People have two, so the penetration to the common use has been really easy and fast, right? Same with the MP3, or same with the iPad, or some products in the market, even the electric cars, right? They were known, and after 2 3 years now, it's okay for everybody to have an electric car. It's penetrating really fast. This is my personal opinion, right? Bitcoin have been around for a while, and um, and it still is facing a huge barrier for the global public, for the global market to penetrate. For example, gold. Let's talk about gold. Anybody in this planet, you tell them you want to buy gold, they say, yeah, if I had the money, I wish, and I can store it. And everybody understands world where this Bitcoin thing, which is the same in my opinion, is a way to store value. Still, it happened so many years. By now, do you think both that we don't that it has more a global knowledge and everybody knew how to use it easily, like to use, I don't know, this mobile phone, and at the beginning nobody knew how to use it. Now you have the apps and you use it. So why do you think this is a bit resistant? Can you think that maybe those scams had been probably a barrier to make this crypto in general more Bitcoin? And also, a second question I want to ask you, there are a lot of projects out there with crypto, okay? And we have crypto investors out there that technically, if you have a cryptocurrency, okay, and you have a solid project behind, okay, is something tangible behind that justify the value of that coin. Whether Bitcoin is not that case, is in case of in uh, it's not it's only my understanding. You cannot build platforms on top of Bitcoin. You can only use it for pay, but it's not like a tech project or something attached to that. So basically, it's a value like gold. Uh, so why do you think that what's the real future that you see for Bitcoin? Do you think that will be not replacing gold, but will be an electronic way to store value? And that will be the main function in the same way that people keep gold, they keep diamonds, they keep and art, for example, and eventually goes up in value. Because Bitcoin is not gonna call you at 1 a.m. to to tell you that the heater is broke, or whatever. It will grow on value. So what's your view?
So the early stage nature of any technology, whether you're talking about Bitcoin or something like the
Yeah, we're
internet,
talking about the penetration. Yeah.
the early years have the least understanding. So there's minimal education and opportunity for people to learn deeply about it when it's
Mhm.
new. There's not all these podcasts and thought leaders and people who are really talking about it. Now we have the benefit of
No, Bitcoin
so many
everybody
people.
talk about only when it's high. When it goes down, everybody don't talk. It's like it dead. But when it's
Yeah.
good price, now everybody want to be on Bitcoin. Everybody talk about Bitcoin and everything.
But even in the early years, there was very little deep thought about it. So now we have the benefit of people like Saylor and even Ricardo Salinas and people who are very well established in business, have a $1 billion plus net worth, who are speaking about this. But in the early years, that wasn't the case. And so there was very little education, very little credibility behind it for people to really get comfortable with it. And in the early years of any technology, there's so much more friction. I mean, you mentioned early versions of smartphones. I think a great analogy is the early versions of the internet. It was tough to use, there wasn't much you could do with it. A few people who really spent a lot of time with it went deep and were rewarded for that. But there's a lot of friction in the early years of any market for people to get on board. And that's true for Bitcoin. The first few years, you had to download some custom software that wasn't widely distributed or had a very easy user manual like most software products that we use nowadays. And thankfully, that gets fixed a little bit more every year. And the people who are onboarding now have a much easier time getting involved, owning some, than the people who are trying to buy it in, say, the early 2010s. But we're still in that early stage where for most people it is still a challenge to get onboarded. That's part of why we're not just building data centers and helping people get into mining. We've really built a kind of a full stack education company because it is so important
Wow,
to
very
build the
powerful.
rails for people to understand what they're getting into, to be properly resourced. Because if someone is scared or confused, they're not going to dive deeper into something most of the time. There's a very small minority of people who will do the heavy lifting to understand something like this without being handheld in that sense. So that's something that we've had to learn how to do. In terms of Bitcoin, like what is it here to do? It's my opinion that the best problem that it can solve and the biggest market opportunity for it is just to be money. And this is very little known, but you can actually do the same kinds of things that you do on other crypto networks, like program smart contracts and do these sort of smart functionality. It's just not the primary use case for Bitcoin, and arguably is kind of a distraction and just kind of a nice to have. But if you think about comparing, I think gold is a great analogy because it's the most similar thing that we have in the physical world to Bitcoin.
Mhm.
It has a 10 times larger market cap currently, so there's still a ton of opportunity for Bitcoin just to get up to that. And something you said earlier of gold just has monetary value is totally correct. I mean, if people are familiar with the arguments for owning gold, it's not just that it's been used as money for 5,000 years, it's also that it has industrial value, that you can use it in electronics and other industrial processes, and it's valuable for that reason. But what I don't think most people understand is that only about 10% of the value of gold is for those industrial uses. So most of
Mhm.
it is just
Mhm.
because people think that it's money.
The
And
value, yeah.
so if Bitcoin does nothing other than solve the problem of store of value and moving money around and functioning as a better money for a digital society, then it's definitely achieved its aim, in my opinion, and will be the most valuable asset in the world. It's already
And
number five.
yeah, and it's easy and it's fast. You see, if you store your value, that is like, same way people. Some people buy art, some people buy diamonds, some people buy gold, some people can buy Bitcoin, yeah, and is you're storing that value. But the good thing about this value is when you want to get to sell the value, when you want to do is everything happen very fast, and it's convenient. And but you also have to understand tech. So I think that Bitcoin could be the goal for the millennials, the goal of the new generation, right?
It gets easier and
The tech,
easier, right?
yeah, and
Every year gets easier. And in fact, most of our clients are older than, like, say they're over 50. So I thought it
Mhm.
would be a lot of young technology
Ah, really?
enabled. Yeah,
Oh,
most of
wow,
our clients are looking for someone to help them get into this, and they're not
interesting.
necessarily tech savvy. We have clients in their 80s who are setting up Bitcoin wallets.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow, yeah. So, boy, somebody's in love with the conversation. They want to learn more. Can you please share how people can find you? How this process work?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that we work at Abundant Minds is people come to us and they're looking to get into mining totally hands off and get that income stream as well as the tax benefits of owning your own equipment. So we recently got the one big beautiful bill passed, which brought back 100% bonus depreciation, which means that if you buy a miner from us and it's running in Oregon, that is your miner and it's just managed for you. You can depreciate that on your taxes, get a write-off, and start getting Bitcoin denominated income. And all we charge is a flat monthly fee that covers electricity and parts and maintenance and all of that.
Mm.
So you, with very little overhead and very little management, can get into Bitcoin mining and have a really seamless experience. Come out for a site visit, see everything running.
Exactly. And it's in US, so you drive yourself. You can see with your eyes. You see, in the middle of nowhere. So that that is something that is amazing, and I congratulate you for creating that and to solve a huge problem that is going around, and in my opinion, is gonna keep going around because this learning process is not as easy. Um, there are people there that they're taking advantage of the opportunity to take advantage of people, right? And a lot of people have lost a lot of money. However, from this broadcast, we always share with the entrepreneurs, right? That every time that you grow in a business, regardless which business, yeah, well, you're growing, there is a risk attached to it, right? And I'm always sharing with this broadcast that if you have a business, let's say you're selling tomato, right? And you grow in the business and you're making money, rather than take all this money to expand this company to create more tomatoes and get all the money to create more tomatoes and more tomatoes, and we all been there, we done it. What happened is you create a large company that said tomato, and today, another day, one might come and say, look, I have my own farm, and people lose everything. On the other hand, if you have any business and this business creating you money, cash flow, remember, it's always do due diligence. If you can buy a property, if you understand and can go there and have a look at this option for Bitcoin that can generate you cash flow. The other day, another person came here with a gas and oil project in Texas, in United States, so people can also see. And it was another idea that can give cash flow to people. The reason is that if entrepreneur can diversify when they grow in the company, it's amazing because let's suppose that they have a little bit of Bitcoin mining going on that giving cash flow. They have some property that give them cash flow. They have, to give you an idea, I don't know, another kind of investment vehicles that after do a proper due diligence can generate cash flow for them. Guess what happens? If tomorrow you're out of business, it's okay because you have cash flow coming from another sources. Even better, right? Rather than take all the money your business is making and reinvesting in the business to make it bigger, um, the cash flow that those investments are producing, you can use this for marketing for your own business, and it's okay. You can use this cash flow for marketing for your own business, and if your business become $1 billion, it doesn't matter. But your marketing income, your other income is coming for a steady cash flow vehicles that have, we can say, less risk attached to a nature of an startup of a normal business because it's competition out there. So this is something that I always share with the entrepreneurs. Obviously, always do due diligence. However, if those vehicles are in United States, it's good because you can drive and see it, right?
It's great when
And
you
there is,
can.
and you guys in US have lawyers, you know what I mean? Something goes wrong,
Yeah.
everybody's in big trouble, you know what I mean? So you can drive, you can see, and we have you have laws, same like in United Kingdom. So somehow of course, every time you invest money, there is risk attached, but your job is to mitigate that risk. And if it's in US soil, I think that is a plus, in my
It
opinion.
helps if you can come see it in person.
Absolutely.
And
You drive,
in
you
my
see
opinion,
it.
Oregon's a great place to come and visit. It's really
There you go.
beautiful.
You get a holiday, and you know what I mean, and you have a chat, and maybe you learn more what actually you're doing. That's fantastic, Beau. Amazing. And for all of you following the broadcast, you know our next episode, how brave entrepreneur like Beau break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.